adventure, sports, outdoors. With host Harry Canterbury.
There I was, back in the wild again, and I felt right at home where I belong. I had that feeling coming over me again, just like it happened so many times before. Yeah.
Hi, Harry Canterbury with another edition of Adventure Sports Outdoors. Join us today as we go fishing with you-know-who, Mr. Fish, Pat Sullivan from Peoria, Illinois. And we went with some guys down to Canton, Illinois at the Garber farm, caught a lot of fish and had a wonderful time. We also had a great meal that evening, nothing like fresh fish. We also have Josh Garber, a young guy who fishes Spring Lake, knows a lot about it, has caught thousands, and I'm not kidding, thousands of bass over the years at that lake. And he took some underwater video of what Spring Lake looks like, what's underneath that water, and some really beautiful bass. We're also going to talk to a guy that collects traps, everything from a small mouse trap all the way up to the biggest bear trap made in the world. And it was very interesting to talk to Kent about his bear trap collection. We're also going to see Dave Jackson from Pekin, Illinois, who used to work for the Olt duck call manufacturing company, spent almost 30 years there, and has designed his own line of duck calls and is carrying on the tradition that was started a long time ago, back around 1900. So stay tuned today for a great, interesting program.
Adventure Sports Outdoors, brought to you in part by Corsaw Lumber, manufacturers of quality hardwood products, buyers of standing timber in Smithfield, Central Pool Supply, everything from pools to pool tables and much more in Peoria on West Pioneer Parkway. Kelleher's Irish Pub and Eatery, located on Peoria's riverfront, open 11 a.m. daily. Lewis and Clark Outpost, 107 East Fast Street in Mackinac. Our thanks to all of these sponsors.
Hi there, I'm Pat Sullivan. Harry Canterbury's tagged me as Mr. Fish. That's because we like to fish and we like to cook and eat. And what we've done over the years is they'll auction off, and at the Rocky Mountain Elks, they auctioned off a spot to fish out here at Chuck Gabbert's, and we're going to catch fish today, then come back and clean them and then eat them. And thanks, Chuck, for helping us out, get this thing for this donation.
No problem, Pat. Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is a great operation, so I'm really happy to help them. And we're going to go, we've got about 80 acres here, of which about half of it's water. We got 6 lakes, and I think we're going to fish the big lake first. Pat's going to go up front in some of the little ones, and then we're going to see if we can't get enough fish for a big fish fry prepared artfully by Mr. Sullivan this week.
And Kent here and his family are the ones that paid for the donation, and thank you.
The 4 of us, Chuck, are really looking forward to this.
Looking forward to having you.
There's one. There's a hit. There's a hit. First cast.
What do you think it is, Pat?
Hopefully it's a crappie.
Oh.
Yeah, a small bluegill.
Little bluegill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You got one?
Oh, you got a good one.
Got a good fish?
Yeah.
What the heck is this? Like, well, it's a big old bluegill.
Yeah.
Boy, whatever it is, it's nice. Good fish.
You got that?
Got a little more.
Yeah.
It's got a little. Oh,
Yeah,
man,
little
nice
bass.
little bass. Keeper bass.
Little guy.
Little guy.
Little guy. Little guy. Yep.
Little bass.
Yep. He's got one. He's got one.
Got one?
He's got a better one. That could be a crappie. Yep. Little bass, see?
Little bass. And those, and
So they're the aggressive ones right now. Oh, yeah. There's one. This is better. Hopefully
better
I got-
fish.
This is a better fish. I think you over there. Yeah, it is a little bit bigger than what the last one. Nice 9-inch.
Let's take a look at the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got big eyes.
So he's,
Yeah. He
he's
needs some. He's got some shoulders, but no belly.
got another hit? Oh man,
He's got a good one there.
he's got a good fish.
Yeah, I got a net.
It's another one of those.
Google eyes, just put those, there's nothing wrong with those fish. I don't care what they say. Let me take a look at it. Look how meaty he is. That's a nice looking fish. You got one? Oh boy, another one. I'll bet it's another Google eye. You just catch the heck out
Oh,
of
you
it.
got that.
I got a bass, another one, another eater. Another eater. Oh, another little guy. Well, that you wouldn't know it by that pole. That's a real active pole.
Got one. Little guy, but active on this
Ultralight.
ultralight. Yeah. Little
Oh,
guy.
he's not
Little guy.
terribly tiny. Oh, you got another one. Yeah, that one. A little bigger than the others. He's an eater.
Come on.
Yeah, look at that.
It's small, but it's still there.
Well, this is, it's small, but this is, almost
That's
respectable.
That's what we want out of here.
Yeah, get them out of here. That looks like Kent's got another one on.
There you go. Big,
Yeah,
little bass.
little bass, but you know what? It's fun. Yeah.
They all seem to be about the same size.
Yeah, he hit that frog.
Oh, you hit that frog, huh?
Right on the edge, right on the edge.
Oh, good.
Look at that. That shit.
Frog.
Hit that frog right on the edge of the moss.
Was it on the surface?
Yeah. He came up and got it. There it is. Little guy.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a better one. He's in the moss. He came up and got that through the moss. A little bit better. There, oh yeah. Yeah. On the salt. Oh yeah. There's a bluegill.
That's a nice bluegill. Now, you know what? Talking about
Yeah, he's a little
getting
thin.
stunted, he's a little thin
A
though.
little thin, but he's nice.
Take a look at him. He's a nice size bluegill. I mean, it's the one you want to catch, but
Bigger in your hand.
he hasn't got much on the shoulders though, does he?
Nope.
You know?
Yeah, but it looks like a little bass.
Little bass.
He's shaking his head. You don't want to come in. Oh, I about lost him.
He knows he's going down to Sullivan's grease.
Grease to the grease. Okay, here we go.
Got another one.
Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah,
We got another one.
Boy, he swallowed it.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, I got a few of them.
Well, what do you got in there? You got some catfish?
Yeah, they got a nice catfish out of there. They had a whole group of guys, and oh yeah, look at that.
That's a
That's
nice
one of my favorite
Nice
eating
fish.
fish. Came out a great day.
Couldn't be any better.
Cloudy, windy.
Little
and
windy.
Could be 90 and hot and still.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got the grease going.
Yeah, we can do that. You know that. Release to the grease.
I'm here with Josh Garber, and Josh has been fishing down at Spring Lake near Manitou, Illinois, virtually ever since he was about that big. Almost anyway. And he really knows that lake from one end to the other. Fishes there all the time, spring, summer, and fall. Catches a lot of bass. And he's got into it so heavy that he now films his catches. And he's got a little GoPro camera here. Tell us a little bit about that camera, what that is.
Oh, it's just action camera. These sessions are $200. I think $199 Walmart or something. But
And it's not just 1080i, because we air in 1080i for television. This actually is in 4,000 4,000, right?
Yeah, you can adjust it. It's 4K, 2.7K, and 1080. You can actually adjust what resolution you want to shoot.
The smaller the resolution, the more time you get. But if you want some real clarity
on
and
your card,
clear as you want to get it, you want to go up to 4,000. But you take this camera, you stick it under the water, and of course we've got a picture here of baby bass, they call them fries, swimming underwater, and you got a good picture of those. But then you also have some bass in the background that are coming up and real curious about that little light going off, right?
Yeah, you can turn that light off too if you want, but I just forgot to and haven't done it yet. But
And you've actually got bass with the lure in their mouth, and you've got the release and a whole bunch of other things. It's a lot of fun. You enjoy that, and you've really kind of figured out how to catch them, and now you want to make a little more out of it than just catch and release.
I'm getting real into studying them too and learning more about them. That's what I like to learn about them.
Well, with that camera under the water, you're going to know their habits, what they do, how they take the baits and everything else. But that is really, really interesting. But that little camera, for a couple $100, you know, the video cameras we use we've been using the last 25 years, run anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. And you basically can get the same resolution. Now, you can't do a lot of things with this that you can do with a camera, but this allows you to get underwater. And that's how deep can you go with this?
33 feet before you have to get the waterproof case.
Okay, so it is waterproof, but once you get there and the pressure starts pushing the water
Yeah,
in, so you'd have to have a different deal, you know?
Yeah, well, you can mount that. I've got like a head mount. I wear on my hat. It mounts to your head.
Uh-huh.
There's a chest mount. There's a mount.
Well, that's pretty cool. We don't even own one of these. Kenny and I are going to have to pick one up for $200. That's a pretty good deal. How long have you been fishing Spring Lake?
Since I was a little kid.
And you know, years and years and years. You know that lake. You fish that lake more than most people. There's probably a few people that hit it hard, but you don't. You're down there all the time.
Yeah, when I can be, really.
Now, there's the north end and the south end. When I was a kid, it was just one great big lake. And you've noticed a big change in the fish. You say that the fish on the north end are much healthier, bigger, and then you can always tell a fish when they're kind of stunted. Their eyes get big, their bodies get small, and they don't look right. So you think that the population of the fish on the north side of the lake are a lot better than the south side?
I haven't spent any time on the north this year, but last year that's the way it was. They weren't bigger on the north, but they were healthier. They were just thicker.
Meatier.
They were shorter when weighed more. You know, I mean, like a south end fish would be longer, but it would weigh the same.
Well, like we say in the business that you and I have been in all our life, they got some shoulders on them.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, they're some pretty big boys and girls both.
Oh, yeah, they were a better color. They were just the water's more clear on the north end too. So I mean, that's
what do you think the problem is down there in your opinion?
The vegetation on the south end could get better, I think. And a lot more coontail. We need more. Well,
we've got the milfoil, which is an invasive species of vegetation.
The Eurasian milfoil is kind of nasty. I don't really like that, but the regular stuff.
The coontail moss.
The variable leaf water milfoil, whatever it's called. It's not so big that it chokes up everything, but.
So it's actually helped the fish and instead.
Oh yeah, it filters the water. It filters the water too.
That's why it's so clear. When I was a kid growing up there, it was ring perch, bluegills, and we called them sunfish.
And big red ears, yeah.
Big red ears. That's right. Like I said, I went fishing with Josh last year, and he knows how to nail those bass. And he'll go down and catch 15 or 20 just about any time he goes down there. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Barth with your Sportsman's Tip of the Week. With ammo prices getting higher and higher almost on a daily basis, you might want to consider reloading, especially rifle and pistol shells. It doesn't take that much of an investment and that much equipment to get started. You need a reloading press, you need a powder scale, a powder measure, and dies. A nice accessory to have is a case tumbler. Of course, you need media for the tumbler. It's not a necessity that you have to have something like this, but it just cleans your brass and you get a good looking cartridge when you're done. Now, if you want to save some money, you can buy all of this equipment in a kit, and it's everything you need to start reloading except a set of dies. Once you have your basic equipment, you can change calibers for between $30 and $40 by buying a set of dies for each particular caliber. Once you have your equipment, you need your components. Primers you can buy by the thousand. Powder comes in single pound lots or in kegs. You need bullets of some type. Lead bullets like this are a real cost savings. When you shoot lead, like out of a 45 long Colt, for example, factory ammunition is $30 to $40. You can load a box of shells for $10. If you want to load rifle ammunition, you can buy bullets by the 100, and you'll load for about half of what they sell for new. And of course, you need brass. I'm Dave Barth with your Sportsman's Tip of the Week.
Now we're going to talk to Dave Jackson of Pekin, Illinois, who I mentioned worked for Olt Call Manufacturing for almost 30 years. He knows everything there is to know about manufacturing calls and does a fantastic job. There's been a lot of people throughout time and throughout this country that made handmade decoys. It's not only an art, but it's also a science, and these guys have got it down pat. They are artists. And here in the state of Illinois, from Chicago to St. Louis and even farther down, there has been decoy carvers, duck call manufacturers, makers, and a little cottage industry that used to flourish at one time in this great state. Hey, I'm here with Dave Jackson in Pekin, Illinois, a guy that worked for the Olt Call Company for nearly 30 years. And of course, practice makes perfect. This guy can build some duck calls yet today, and he carries on the legacy of duck call making in Illinois. What I'm holding here is the very last duck call made at PS Olt in Pekin, Illinois. And PS Olt was started in what year, Dave?
1904 officially.
1904.
They made duck calls prior to the 1900s, but officially in business in 1904.
Well, it was an old German family. It came here around the 1870s. Pekin, Illinois was a predominantly German community.
Yes.
And they were artisans. They were little cabin cottage industry people. They, made cuckoo clocks, and they made anything. Everything had to be handmade.
Sure.
And of course, duck hunting was becoming a very popular sport in central Illinois, and they saw a need for a good duck call because there wasn't any. How many of these do you think were sold, just the D2, over all those years?
Millions.
Millions.
I mean, I know right after the war, of course, all the petroleum went to the war.
Right.
And the very first year after the war, they made a little over 200,000 of just the D2s.
All the guys coming back wanting to go duck hunting.
Well, you couldn't get any material.
We couldn't build any.
You couldn't build any.
Yeah.
So after the first year, I know just the 1 year was over 200 grand.
Hey, you're holding what they call the hard rubber. Explain to us what is the difference between hard rubber, the composite between the two, and the poured plastic.
Okay. Well, this is what they call a compression mold duck call. It's made out of hard rubber, and it's got the bottom part of the mold, a piece of hard rubber, the core pins, another piece of hard rubber, and the top, and it's compressed under high pressure to form this. When it comes out of the mold, it's very flexible. So then it's heated to get the correct hardness. This is what they call the B4 somewhere. This particular call dates somewhere right around 1908, 1909. And it's called the B4 because it has the metal slide on it, which in turn would go down on the reed to give it a different tone. This one here is called the D2, the same as this, but this is a cyclic injection mode. They first started that in 1956 when they first started making the D2 out of plastic. Other than that, prior to that, everything was hard rubber.
Well, there was a big revolution in the change of, because of war.
Sure.
And plastic was kind of invented during that time. Everything else was actual rubber, but plastic.
It was either hard rubber or you had wood. That's
wood,
the two choices you had in a duck call.
But this was really the first commercial duck call ever made in America.
Absolutely. PSO company was, yes.
And tell us about everything else you have up here.
Okay, like I said, this all dates hard rubber. Outside of, like I said, the turkey call, that's the first wooden call that the PSO company made in 1929. Outside of that, everything was hard rubber. You get into this era here, this is 1954. Originally, this is a squirrel call. Originally, it was supposed to be a predator call. And it was going to be made for the men in the war because the Japanese were superstitious of the fox. But by the time the mold got made, everything got done, the war had ended, so they just ended up making a squirrel call. So then we get into, the newer years, they made the elk calls, there's just owl hooter calls for turkey hunting. Like I said, then you get into the plastic, you just got different, you got duck calls, you got goose calls, they had coon calls, they had squirrel calls, they had pheasant calls, hawk calls, crow, so they, basically anything that was huntable, the PSO company made.
They made it.
They made it.
Now, learning how to blow a duck call, and I learned on this, my goodness, I'm 65, so I was about 10 or 11. And the first thing you learn when you're blowing a duck call, of course, is the chuckle call. Hey, I'm standing here with Derek, and Derek is now getting into the acrylics, which has become very popular in the duck calling industry, and you make this and many, many others.
Yes.
And this is a swan call. You want it to be white, of course, when you're out hunting swans in the snow. And this is your acrylic call. Now, does it have a special name?
I don't really have a special name for the custom ones. We have what they call a new style, which is kind of like this, but it has that 10,000ths reed with the higher pitch. And then, of course, we have that one, which is the 39, which has that 39,000ths in it. Hang on. We'll get you one right
This
there.
one ain't been blowed out yet.
That's that one.
Now, this is a 39, you say?
No, that one would be kind of like what we call the new style. It's got the 10,000ths reed, the little higher pitch.
A little higher pitch.
Yes.
So this is a call that a lot of guys use in a show call when they're highballing and,
competition.
Yeah, competition
That's
call.
right.
Competition call don't even sound like a duck.
No, it don't.
And those old river rats I used to hunt with when I was a kid, I said, you sound like a chicken. And them ducks are just... So duck calling is different to everybody.
Oh, yes.
And if you go out, and I've heard, if you go out and listen to ducks out in the pond, they make all kinds of noise, all kinds of different.
Except the highball.
Except the highball.
Except
They
the
don't.
highball.
And here's the highball. That's a highball, and I ain't never heard a duck sound like that. Never will. Hey, thanks, guys. We really appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Hey, I'd like to thank the Jackson boys for having me down here in Pekin and showing us this great collection of duck calls. You're going to continue this great adventure for probably till the day you die.
Absolutely.
But you're thinking about relocating in another part of the country right now?
Relocate,
A lot of people are, especially living in Illinois with high taxes and problems that Illinois has. But you're going to continue this great legacy in Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming. The call company is going to follow.
That's
you
great.
Betcha.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Harry.
Yeah, nice to see you guys again.
Thank you.
You bet. I'm at the home of Kent Buffington from Morton, Illinois, with a small part of his great collection. As a young man growing up in northern Iowa, his recreation and money-making thing was to go out and catch muskrats and mink. A lot of kids did. I did it myself years and years ago. It's really not a big deal these days, although there is a lot of people that still trap raccoons and a few mink, but trapping's not what it was 50 years ago, is it?
No, it sure isn't.
It's changed over the years.
Yep.
Really. Hey, you're holding on to a neat trap. All these traps have a story. They're very interesting. Jim Bridger, who was one of the most famous mountain men in the northern Rockies, the guy was an Indian fighter. He was a trapper, a hunter. He really was quite a guy. And when you talk about mountain men, you talk about Jim Bridger. We have here a Bridger trap, which was not his company, but was named in honor of Mr. Jim Bridger. Tell us what that trap was for there.
This would be a wolf or beaver trap. And it's a Bridger special.
So that was named in honor of
Jim Bridger.
Of Jim Bridger. Now, we got to tell this quick story. He had a trap that he had for many years, and it was made in the 1700s. You sold it to the state of Wyoming museum.
Cody, Wyoming.
Cody, Wyoming, and they paid you $10,000 for that trap.
Yeah.
Wow. And what kind of trap was that?
Jim Bridger.
It was a Jim Bridger.
There was only 7 of them known, and there were probably a lot more made, but there were only
7 known.
And they found out I had one, and they wanted it.
They bugged you to get it, and they got it. You know, the one that it's scary, and it's a number 6 new house that is sitting right there. It is huge. That will catch a polar bear, a grizzly bear, a brown bear, a black bear, and would kill or cut off. If a man had his leg in there, it would snap it, break his bones down to the nothing, right?
Right.
Now, tell us a story about the trap that you found out elk hunting.
I was hunting elk in the Crazy Woman Mountains in Montana, and I got in a thunderstorm, and lightning was all around me, and I jumped in behind some rocks, and I saw the spring sticking up out of the dirt. Took my hunting knife out and dug it up, and I got it just about out of the ground, and I realized it was set. But the Crazy Woman Mountains is where Jeremiah Johnson was. Could have been his.
That actually could have been Jeremiah Johnson, because that was right in the area where he lived.
If you have seen the movie Jeremiah Johnson and Mountain Man, Crazy Woman had a dugout. And Jeremiah Johnson took care of her by shooting deer and stuff. I've seen her dugout. It's not far from where I found that trap.
Really? Well, that's interesting. Well, we could have one of Jeremiah Johnson's traps right here in the...
Made by a blacksmith.
Made by a blacksmith. No markings, no serial numbers,
Nope.
No dates, no nothing. So that was made probably 1820s, 1830s more than likely.
Yep.
They really hadn't changed the design over the years. They're pretty basic. It's a big loaded spring on each side. There's a little pan in the center. And when you hide that and step on the pan, it releases the trap, and snappo, you're there.
Yep.
Now, it's bear trapping and all sorts of, black bear and all the others has been made illegal over the years for obvious reasons. But one state in the union still does that, and who is that?
Maine.
Maine.
They're allowed to take 1 bear a year.
1 bear a year with a trap, and that's it. So trapping is just a shadow of its former self. It was a big industry. It's made a lot of money for a lot of people. And it's all changed. It's a different breed of cat now.
As trapping dropped off, other companies bought other companies like Oneida and Victor. They bought each other out, and pretty soon you just had a couple of companies left.
You only got a couple left. Who's still making? Victor's still making
Victor
traps?
still makes them.
And not too many other people.
And Duke.
Duke?
Not too many others.
And that's about it, yeah. Well, like I was saying, a great piece of Americana and a nice collection of traps right here in Morton, Illinois, at Kent Buffington's home.
Adventure Sports Outdoors, brought to you in part by Corsaw Lumber, manufacturers of quality hardwood products, buyers of standing timber in Smithfield. Central Pool Supply, everything from pools to pool tables and much more in Peoria on West Pioneer Parkway. Kelleher's Irish Pub and Eatery, located on Peoria's riverfront, open 11 a.m. daily.
Lewis and Clark Outpost, 107 East Fast Street in Mackinac. Our thanks to all of these sponsors.
Thanks for watching another edition of Adventure Sports Outdoors. Next month, we're going to do a little fall fishing with Josh Garber, and also go see our good buddy Dave Barth and take another look at his gun collection. See you next month.